Does your life feel like one big soap opera sometimes? It may be a friend, a colleague, a family member, and it always seems like there's some drama that is going on. In a team environment, in a group environment, in a relationship, that can be detrimental to the trust, to everything that we have worked so hard to build within a team. Today, we're going to talk about the drama triangle and how you can avoid getting involved in that soap opera of life. Stick with us. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. I am your host, John Espinosa. I am your host, John Espinosa, to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Hey everyone, John here. Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Today, we're going to spend some time talking about drama. That's right. I said drama. Sometimes in life, we get involved in relationships. We're on a team. We have that one friend or friends that always seem like there's some issue, some big challenge, basically drama in their lives, and they bring it with them. Remember, as human beings, it's natural for us to carry that baggage that we have, whether we're at work, whether we're talking to our friends, whether we're around family. And I'm sure you all can put yourself in a situation, think back, probably not long ago, that you were on the other side of that conversation where somebody was complaining about somebody else. Or maybe they were complaining about how life isn't fair. They can't catch a break. Nothing's going their way. And if you haven't been on the other side of that conversation, you might want to check yourself, because you might be the one who's bringing the drama to the group or to the relationship. So today we are going to dig into the drama triangle. So let me just set the foundation here. Whenever we're part of a group, whenever we're part of a relationship, and we're in the thick of things, and we care deeply about somebody, we care about the team, we care about the mission, we care about what's going on, the drama sometimes can be ignored. And a lot of times, disagreement isn't necessarily conflict, isn't necessarily drama. For me, the tipping point is when it begins to impact how the team is working, how the relationship is forming, or it's continuing on, when the trust starts to break down. Because in the end, if somebody is complaining to me about somebody else or about a team or about their work or about their life in general, and I participate in that conversation, maybe it's just, I hear you, I understand, man, I can't believe that they did that to you. You are part of the drama triangle. So one of the things that I want you all to walk away with today is some signs. I want that spidey sense, that alert to go off whenever you get involved in those types of conversations, and it turns into more than just listening. It turns into actively participating in the drama triangle. First, I want to give a shout out to all the listeners out there. The new listeners especially, welcome to the Go Be Great community. And in today's episode, I'm going to use some personal examples of how I have experienced the drama triangle, both from a professional and a personal standpoint. But hopefully, I want you all to be able to recognize when you are one of the three corners to the triangle. Don't ask me why I always use triangles. This happened to be named the drama triangle, but triangle is one of my favorite shapes. I like 3 to 4 things, so it just all fits. It just happened to be the case today that it was called the drama triangle. And we're going to talk about how to minimize the drama in your relationships, in your teams, and in your family even. This is going to be amazing, trust me. Before I learned about this, I was one of the 3 corners of this drama triangle. We're going to uncover what the 3 corners are, and we're going to talk about those 3 corners. In the drama triangle, you can either be the victim, you can be the persecutor, or you can be the savior. Those are the 3 roles. So when I mention a soap opera of life, I think my mom, I go back, and my grandmother even, she used to watch Spanish soap operas, and I can always remember like the scene. There was always a villain. There was always somebody behind the scenes that was causing trouble or creating conflict within the family or trying to pit 2 people against each other, right? So think of that villain as the persecutor. They're the ones that's causing harm to the victim. So there's always a victim in a soap opera. The victim is the innocent one, right? Not any shady business going on, not any shady past. They're the sweet, innocent one that is being offended, that is being persecuted by this evil villain. And then you have the savior. You can think of this as the knight in shining armor. In a soap opera, I always think of it as that person who comes in at the last minute. Like when that heated conversation is and they come through the door and they save the victim from the evil villain. I know that's a very exaggerated sense, but let's put that into reality. Let's put that into context. If you have a friend who comes to you and is complaining about another set of friends or another close friend within your group, and you're listening, and either that friend has felt like they're not being listened to, or they're not trusted, or they never get invited to these special events, or the social media posts never include their picture. Too many times we pay more attention to social media than we really do what's going on, because a lot of times social media, those are the highlight reels. That's not really what's going on behind the scenes. But you have that friend who sees that and comes to you, not griping at you, but griping about somebody else. Naturally, what do? Oh, I can't believe that so-and-so is doing that to you. I really feel bad for you. I'm sorry. You start to apologize, right? At that point, you become the savior. They are the victim, and that friend is now the persecutor. So you can see how easily you can get into this drama triangle. Let's put it the other way. I myself may have an issue with a fellow colleague at work, and I go to my boss and I talk about this colleague to my boss. I tell my boss that we just can't get along. Every time I pass them work, they ignore it. Every time I send them an email, it takes them a long time to get back to me. And my boss says, I understand, it's okay, I will deal with it. What's that scenario? Now I'm the victim, the individual who's not returning my emails or making snide comments or maybe ignoring me. They're the persecutor, and my boss now has become the savior because they are going to deal with it. So again, drama triangle, right? So what can you do to avoid being a victim, a persecutor, or the savior within the drama triangle? Let's use the example of the friendship again. I, as the savior in this situation, a friend comes to me and is talking bad about another friend. The first thing I want to understand is, has this individual had a conversation with our other friend? And you can simply ask that. Okay, help me understand the situation. Have you had the opportunity to go talk to Susie? Just ask the question and then wait for the response. I'm sure it'll pray something like, well, no, they're not going to listen anyways. Every time I try to talk, they just overtalk me. They don't listen. Yeah? Sound familiar? So in this example, what I would do, we own % of the relationship. I own my 50% and you own your 50%. I'm not here to give advice. I'm here to listen. But in this case, I think it would be best for you two to have the conversation, and maybe there's something there that there's an assumption that you guys aren't understanding. A lot of times in relationships and communications, we begin to assume things. We begin to tell ourselves stories that so-and-so isn't listening to us, they're ignoring our emails, when in fact, something may be going on in their lives, in their personal lives, and they're distracted from work. They may have a sick parent. They may have a sick kid. They may be sick themselves. But until we check those assumptions, we don't have the full picture. And so instead of us feeding into the victim and the persecutor role as a savior, ask those good questions. Handle it at the lowest level. And what does that do to a triangle? If you take away one of the corners, what does that do? The other two fall. So anytime you are in a conversation and you are in that drama triangle, I want you to think about, how you can close the triangle, how it can collapse and fall into itself. So let's use the work example where I'm the victim and I'm going to talk to my boss. In the same context, my boss should ask me if I have had the conversation with the individual that I am complaining about. That should be the very first question. Have you talked to them? Now, if the conversation is, I talked to them and they were rude, they told me they didn't have time for me, that's a different conversation. So now we can coach them to the next step. We can ask them, what part of the situation do they own? How can they change it? Because again, when people get into that fight or flight response, a lot of times they can't get into the logical part of their mind to think through that situation. So it's important for us to coach them out of that fight or flight because they feel as if they're being attacked. And now we want to put them into a neutral mindset to create a situation to where they can begin to think through that situation. And I'm not oblivious to the fact that some relationships are just not fixable. Sometimes people have such different personalities that they clash. But I find that is a lot of times is the exception and not the norm. A lot of times we begin to assume things, we begin to tell ourselves stories, and it just creates that drama triangle that gets stronger and stronger. Then we go find somebody that will listen to us, agree with us, our story, because we've convinced them, and now that drama triangle is just strengthened. So you can see how this can build pretty quickly. And in a team environment, in a relationship, in a family, it can tear people apart. When people start to take sides, that's when all the collaboration stops. That's when the trust deteriorates. That's when people stop actually listening and start reacting to the situation. I'm sure you all have an example of a drama triangle situation where you have been one of the three. So next time you catch yourself in that conversation, whether you're the victim, the persecutor, or the savior, be mindful of the fact that you need to validate your assumptions. You need to have those hard conversations. It's easy for us to go and complain about somebody else. The hard part is to go have that hard conversation with the individual that we have the disagreement with and truly understand, is this really a conflict of personalities? Is this a conflict of beliefs? Or is it just a simple assumption that we've made about each other and we haven't validated it? And so that begins to build and fester, and it starts to tear apart teams. It starts to tear apart families. It starts to tear apart friendships. And I don't know about you, but I cherish my friendships. I cherish my families. And I want to work on teams that are drama-free. So remember the three pillars: victim, persecutor, and savior. And keep in mind, are you participating in the drama triangle, or are you advocating for that triangle to collapse? I hope this helps somebody today, decreases the soap opera of life for you. If you know somebody that's currently in the drama triangle, do me a favor and share this episode. It may help them. Go be great. We'll talk to everyone later. Bye-bye. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Click on that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com, because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go be great. Talk to everyone later.